Okay? We're going to be starting a new series today. That's another reason why I'm excited. Not near as excited as y'all are, but it's close. Okay, we're going to start a new series called Proper. Yes, Proper. Yes, the oohs and ahs abound. Right, we're going to start this series called Proper. Now, when you hear the word proper, I don't know about you, but for me, I think of kind of like a hoity-toity, nose up in the air, proper. You know, like this is what we're going to do it the proper way. You know, like you're at a fancy dinner. Very few times in my life have I ever been to a real fancy dinner. I mean, like the kind where there's more than one fork and things of that nature. But I had the opportunity last year to go. Don't trash. All right. So I had an opportunity last year to go on a double date with my wife to a very fancy restaurant, and the couple we were going with, they knew what they were doing. My wife, who's very smart, knows what she's doing. I am just trying to make it. Okay, so we sit down, and they have all this stuff out there, and we started off with an appetizer. We started off with mussels, and not like mussels, but like the slimy little thing from the water, kind of like a clam. Okay, and they were in, and really, I guess they are just like a clam, just about. Anyway, they're in this big bowl in the middle of the table, and what you do is you have to pick one out and you pry it apart, and you weren't allowed to use your hands. I waited. Watch some other people. Anybody using a fork? No. Okay. All right. And so we ate them, and they were all right. And we got done, and then next up on our little 8-course dinner here was a bowl of soup. So they bring out this warm bowl of lemon soup. So they set this bowl out in front of me. And it's right there, and I can see the steam coming off it a little bit, and there's just one lemon in it. And so I'm looking at it, and there's a problem because in the midst of all my silverware, I do not have a spoon. And so I'm looking, I'm thinking, I'm like, I'm at the point where I'm getting ready to pick up the bowl. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to cereal bowl this thing. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to take it right here. And before that, judgment hit me, the better judgment, and said, ask your wife. So in my head, I was like, I lean over, I'm like, what's the lemon soup for? And my wife was like, it's to wash your hands. I was about to drink hand washing soup. I didn't know. But there's a proper way. Now, what's fun, I'm so glad. I told my dad. My dad actually did the same thing, except for he drank the soup whenever he did it. So I was like, Dad, if you'd have told me this story, I would have messed up. I would have looked so dumb. But there's a right way to go about doing things. All right? An actual definition of proper is behaving in a way that is correct according to social or moral rules. Or exactly correct. Okay? Now, whenever we look at this, whenever we think about proper, there's some things in life that I think we all generally have a good, strong agreeing on, right? There's certain things in life that we go, okay, the proper way, like for example, when you're in public, there is a proper way to sneeze. Now, and I'm not kidding, there's a proper way to sneeze. You have two options. You have a chew in the hands, or, this is like the new thing, is like in the arm, okay? These are your two options, hands. And with the arm, and I saw that motion right there with the arm, it's got to be a tight thing. It can't be like, this is helping about it. Okay? So, it can't be that. Or, the more important thing, guys in particular, it can't be this. You're in a group of people, and then you got this plume of makeout spit that's just going over everybody. You know what I'm saying? And like if you're in sunlight, it's like shimmering. It's almost pretty. Except gross.
That is your brother.
Okay? That's wrong. That's not the proper way to sneeze. Now, if no one else is around, you can do the plume if you want to and then watch it. But yeah, who wants it? It's like licking yourself. Ugh. Yeah, that's gross. Okay? So there's some things like that we're in agreement on. And then there's some things that we're not quite agreeing on. Evan, I need your help. Would you come up here? Come up here. All right.
Okay.
All right. So there's some things that there's some debate about. The proper way. Evan, I'm going to need you to come stand over here. Yeah, give him a hand. Yeah. All right. Not that far. I'll be fine. Okay, so I picked you because you're really strong. Okay, for this, and what I need you to do, I need you to flex out here, right here, I need you to point your fingers out. I need you to point them in. And keep them about right there. Okay, now there's a debate. There's a debate among philosophers and scholars about this.
Gosh.
Okay, ready? Spread them out a little bit. Bring them back together. Okay, question. Is this the correct way to put it in the
Yes.
Or hold on. Or
Never.
this way.
The first way.
Okay. How about the first one? If you like the first one, raise your hand. Okay, if you like the second one, okay, I'll raise his hand for him. Okay, second one. Okay, I get a question. Do y'all have cats at home? Do you have any pets of any kind? Okay, because if you're a pet owner, a lot of times this is what you go with, because I want to show you a little something here. If you're a cat and you come up to this, okay, you do that, see what happens? Nothing. Release. Turn. All right, I'm a cat. You see this? This is what happens. And then you come back, and this is everywhere in about 800 pieces. Okay, thank you. You're not done yet. Okay, so that's one thing. It's good to see, because I grew up with outdoor cats. Ergo, this was the correct way for me to live. Now I have an indoor cat, and this is no longer the proper way. This is no longer the right way. So, second question.
Nice. Kobe.
All right. Sorry, John. That's like right in your space. Second question is this. Okay. So, whenever you're getting toilet paper for whatever reasons you might need toilet paper for, do you
Fold it.
fold? Do you fold up
You get folded
and then blow your nose or whatever you might
You
use
fold
it for?
square by square.
I do.
Or do you? Right. All right. So let's see. Fold. What? How many of you are situational?
Let's go.
I'm situational. Okay. What I mean is this: if it's on a roller, if it's on a roller, I prefer to wad because you just go, you're just like, this is gonna be trash everywhere. So just like, okay, there we go, boom, and then you go. But if it's free-handed, like this, if it's like just sitting on the, I grew up with it on the back of the toilet sometimes, you know what I'm saying? That's where the extra was, just in case. Y'all are like, I don't want to know this about you, and that's okay. But you get it, and then it's super easy, because you're like, oh, it's like wrapping. I didn't have to fold. Folding is like organization. I don't do that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Go ahead and give him a hand. All right. Some of you are like, Jack, you're the grossest person ever about the things you just told me. No. You know what? There is, for some people, there's a proper way to do this. It's one way. For others, it's another way. Now, one thing that's often up for debate, whether it's the proper way to live or not, the right way to live or not, is like we have this idea that the right way to live, the proper way to live is subjective. Meaning that, you know what, you choose what's right for you, I'll choose what's right for me, and that means it's right because I choose it. And today I'm here to tell you that I say nay on that. I say no. I say that we all have been told the right way to live. We all have been given the same way to live by God. We're all created by the same Creator, and He has the same purpose for us in the sense of, not like everyone's going to be a great singer one day, but the same purpose for us in the sense that we are to all live in the same way. So let's talk about this a little bit. Okay? So, Jesus came down as the perfect example, right? If we're going to talk about the proper example to live your life, Jesus is the right example. He's the right way. Did He mess up? No, He didn't. But 3 of you. All right, did He mess up?
No.
All right, I just got to make sure you're awake. Some of you you're fading fast. All right, so He didn't mess up, but we go, okay, there's a lot about Jesus in the Bible. How can we sum up how to be like Jesus? How can we sum up the proper way to live, the right way? Okay, and if you brought your Bible or you're taking notes, you can go ahead and turn to Matthew 22, starting in verse 35. That dinner was wonderful. It's fighting, but it's good. All right. So, we're looking at a time now. Now, for those of you who are in our high school Bible study, hopefully, except for today, whenever I wasn't there for Sunday school, we've been talking about Jesus he has a major adversary in the religious world, and who is it? Who's the leaders in charge right now during Jesus' time?
Obama.
Well, the Romans are in charge. Not, you know what? I said right now. You're right. In Jesus' time. Yeah, the Romans were the leaders. Who were the religious leaders?
Pharisees.
The Pharisees, right? The Pharisees, all the time, were coming up to Jesus trying to trick him. Okay, trying to mess him up. Okay, so starting in verse 35, this is a time that really Jesus kind of sums up what it's all about. Okay? Starting with verse 35, it says this. It says, one of them, an expert in religious law, tried to trap him being Jesus, with this question. Teacher, he calls as well, which is the most important commandment in the law of Moses? Now, whenever we look at this, the Pharisees had this little thing they like to do. They liked laws. In fact, there were over 600 laws, religious laws, that they were supposed to live by. Now, they were the keepers of the law, so they were the ones to tell you. And they were also the ones who were trying to control your life. They had the laws, they had the rules, and because they had the rules, they were in charge. And you know what? If someone's in charge, do they usually like giving up that power? No. Okay, so they had all these rules. Okay, it controlled the right way to live. How many of you have rules currently placed in your life? Right? Yeah, hopefully all of you. Hopefully all of you. Come on, parents, right? No. We all have rules. I have rules that I have to live by. Most of us, we have laws such as speeding. You know, there's certain things, speeding, going faster than the speed limit. That's a law. We're supposed to follow that. There's plenty of laws out there. But during this time, the Pharisees, they were all about these religious laws, these Mosaic laws. Okay? So Jesus sees what's going on. They're like, which one's the most important? Okay? And Jesus kind of looked at him he's God. So in one way, he's kind of like, I know what you're doing there. I can see what you're doing. But also, Jesus is looking at it and he goes, you know what? I know the answer to the question. And so Jesus says this. Jesus says, you must love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is equally important. Love your neighbor as yourself. The entire law and all the demands of the prophets are based on these two commandments. Jesus knows the intent of the law. Now here's a quick question. Before the Ten Commandments were given, were those laws in effect? Before the Ten Commandments, I'll rephrase. Before the Ten Commandments was given, was it wrong to kill someone? Yeah. Okay. Before, was it wrong to commit adultery?
Yes.
Was it wrong to lie?
Yes.
Were you supposed to honor your father and mother?
Yes.
Yes. Were you supposed to keep all other gods behind the real God? He's the only one supposed to have first? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So these laws themselves, they didn't come into being just because someone finally wrote them down. Jesus knows the intent of these laws. And another thing is this, so did the Pharisees. Jesus is not coming up with some brand new, brilliant thing like no one's ever heard this. I'm going to spit some truth on you right now. And let's just lay it down, write it down because it's important. He's quoting Scripture. He's quoting from Deuteronomy. He's quoting from, I believe, Lamentations. Those two answers. The Pharisees knew it. The Pharisees knew what they were supposed to do. But they had their laws. Now, how many of you have ever been in a situation like this, such as, your parents asked you, did you finish your homework? And instead of you saying, no, you do something along those lines. You go, well, I worked on it really hard. Right? You ever do, or better yet, you go with, oh, you know what? The page 2 was a breeze. You just leave it out there. You don't lie, per se. You imply. And you're like, no, the rule is I'm not allowed to lie to my parents or anybody. Oh, God. The rule is I'm not supposed to lie to my parents. And then we go, okay, there's the rule. And since we have the rule, I'm just going to sidestep it. Am I covered under the intent of the rule right now when I'm implying to you? Yeah, my wife had to break me at this. I'll do it bad. She's like, did you take the trash out? And I'll be like, well, it doesn't smell as bad in the kitchen anymore. And what would I mean by that? I would mean that I would hope and pray I beat her home to get the trash out because I forgot to do it. But I didn't want to lie to her. And my wife, who's really smart, goes, that didn't answer my question. Right? Oh, no. I didn't take the trash out. And then we followed up with what? I'm sorry, but I'll do it as soon as I get home.
You were right.
Right? I mean, all these things, we're used to. Sometimes what we do is we try to set laws and rules and boundaries so that we'll have something to get around. Right? We'll set that up. You know, like, oh, I did. You're supposed to call before you come. Oh, I did call. You missed it. Oh, well, you made sure to call, mom's cell phone because mom's cell phone's usually on silent instead of calling the home phone or dad's phone. We look at these things and we try to set up these paths around laws, while all the while, the real reason for these laws are here. Okay? So that's what the Pharisees are trying to do. But Jesus counteracts it. He says this answer. He says, we are to love him with all our heart, soul, and mind. Now, when I first read this, whenever I first think about this, what does that mean? What does it mean, all my heart, soul, and mind? I think I can get the heart. I think I can get the mind. Soul. Sometimes we get super passionate about something. Is there anything anybody here ever been super passionate about something? Whenever I was in 5th grade, a new game came out. A new game for the Game Boy. And it was Pokemon Red and Blue. Now I don't judge. I just felt a wave of judgment from half of you and admiration from the other, and that's okay. Pokemon Red and Blue, and it came out, and I was all about this game. Now, my brother had blue, I had red, just because we were close enough in age, so that's how we did it. And I was all about Pokemon Blue and Red. Mainly red, because that's the one I own. My brother wouldn't let me play with this. But I was all about it, and I knew all the numbers. And up until a couple years ago, I could tell you what age Charmander learned Flamethrower. 55. I can tell you. Yeah. I was all about it. I read up on it. We had internet back then, but the internet was. That's how the internet had to dial up. Some of you are like, how archaic, right? So that's what it was, and so I looked it up, and it wasn't pretty pictures back then. It was just like line by line of text. You know what I'm saying, right? Y'all know what I'm saying, right? Okay, so I was all about it. I was fully invested. You know what I dreamed about? Pokemon. You know what I read about? I read. That's a miracle in itself. I read about it. I thought about it. I talked about it to most people who wouldn't look bad upon me. I was all about it. Jesus is saying, okay, you need to love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind. Your entire being needs to be in love with Jesus. Okay? And ergo, God. Okay? By doing that means, okay, you know what? What I'm thinking about runs through that filter of my love for Jesus. You know, what does my heart say? It runs through that love. Some of you who may have had a first love already, some of you will eventually at some point in time. Don't worry, it'll be there eventually. Don't worry about it. It'll come where every thought process in your head runs through that person. It will. Teresa was my first real love out there, yay, aw. But there was a certain amount of time. Now, a lot of my thoughts still go through Teresa because, we're accountable to each other in the sense of I need to take out the trash. So, did I get it? There's a lot of thoughts still there. But when we think about this, we think about, okay, all my heart. Your heart. Now, back then, they believed, they didn't believe that the heart was something that pumped blood. And so, Eric, oh man, everywhere the blood goes, you should. No. Your heart was where your emotion was at. Your heart was where your feelings were at. Your heart was where you were passionate about. All that passion, all that fury. How many of you ever got mad about something? Right? And if you ever, not like mad like you stubbed your toe, but mad because you're so excited about it and someone's not excited about what you're excited about, so you're super excited. No, not excited. Mad at their lack of excitement. That's, we got that passion. We got that in your mind. You're thinking about what you think about, your thoughts, your process. It goes through it. Your soul, your very being. Okay, so it's kind of like this. He says that. He says that first part. Okay, so that's kind of like a vertical. I want everybody to do this with your right or left hand. It doesn't matter. All right, this right here. This is your first essential part of your relationship with God. It's your vertical relationship, assuming that God is up there and we're down here. We're not going to get into that. Okay, so, yeah, heaven's up. All right, so we got this right here. Now, this is great and awesome. We need to be thinking about God with everything we got. We need to be building that relationship. We need to be studying God. The proper way to live is in this relationship. Prayer, reading the Bible, things of that nature. This is all well and good, and this is very important. Okay, I want everybody to do this with your other hand. Whatever your other hand is. There we go. All right, now don't leave them both up yet. You're getting ahead of me. All right, so right here, you have vertical and horizontal. All right, good. Some people pay attention in math class. Not math class.
Geometry.
No, geography, that's the word. So anyway, so you have this right here. Put your arm down, because some of you don't have the other. All right, so we have this horizontal relationship. Believe it or not, it's not all about your relationship between you and God. It's not all about this. This is a huge part, don't get me wrong. But if we don't have the horizontal, if we don't have our relationship with others, with us reaching out to the world, then we're missing out on it. He says in that second part, he says the second is equally as important. If it's equal importance, which one's more important? They're equal. So yeah, both of them are the same equalness. Equal? No, just let it be. All right, so they're both the same. So if you have the vertical relationship, but you're not reaching out to your neighbor, then you're missing out on what God is really telling you. Okay? See how long you can hold it. That's good. All right? So what does this mean to love your neighbor as yourself? Okay? This is different than treat others as you would like to be treated. Because some of you are like, yeah, I would like the whole world to leave me alone. So ergo, I'm supposed to leave the whole world. No, this is loving your neighbor as yourself. Now, if we are loving God with all that we got, we're going to be understanding what love is really about. Love is about God. If you need the visual, keep it up. Okay? So, we realize that love is about God. Love is about this relationship. Love is about selling out everything for God. And then we're supposed to communicate that to the world around us. We're supposed to be reaching out. Okay? Because if we're not, then how are we really loving our neighbor as much as you love yourself? Or just a real quick question. If you were about to get hit by a bus and there was someone standing on the side of the road who could save your life, would you like them to save you? Yes. Some of you are like, yeah. You know, yes, I would. You'd be like, yes, please. If Superman saying or anyone, if I'm standing over there and you see this is happening, you want someone to love you enough to save you, right? You want someone to love you enough to care about you. If I was hungry, I would hope that one of you would come feed me. Now, obviously, I'm not very hungry. It's easy to tell. But if I was, I hope that one of y'all would love me enough to bring me food. You would love me enough to get up and do something. How many of you would like for me to give you $100 million?
Me. 100 million too.
100 million and two, or also? Okay. All right. So, grammar thoughts. Anyway, so let's say I give you $100 million. If I give you $100 million, do you think your life's going to change a little bit? Yes. First off, you're going to learn what taxes are. Okay. Second off, whenever we get that money, you're probably going to change. You'll probably change maybe where you live. You'll probably change maybe what you drive if you're at driving age. You'll probably change what size of a television you have, or you may change what school aspirations you have for where you want to go. You'll probably change about how you feel about life. You'll probably change. If you were given that much money, if you're given that great of a gift, it would change you. There would be different things about you. Now when we realize this vertical relationship, we are given a tremendous gift. Okay? From God, we are given this great gift. And if it doesn't change our lives, then what are we doing? do you have the love of Christ if you look just like someone who doesn't, right? And so this is the issue for us whenever we're supposed to be reaching out. We have this, everybody put this up. Right here, either hand's fine. If you're writing, I'm sorry. So you have this, we have this relationship, and then you add this relationship, the vertical and the horizontal.
We got a plus sign.
All right? And we got a plus sign or we got a cross, right? We're going to be reaching out. How many of you have ever run on a rope swing? Or not like a rope swing where you jump off, like just maybe a tire swing, something attached to a big limb.
Oh, yeah.
There's two key ingredients to this process. And believe me, the bigger you are, the more you care about these two ingredients. The first ingredient is something great to hold on to. Right? You're looking at that limb. If you're like me, some of you may be more whimsical, but I'm not that whimsical. I come up, I see it, and I'm like, oh, okay. That branch looks big. I think, okay. All right. You know, I'm going to ease it out because I want to make sure whatever I'm hooked to, whatever it's up there, that it's strong enough to hold me. It's, yeah, big people problems, right? And so I'm going to check that out. In our relationship with God, that vertical relationship, we realize that's the strongest thing we can ever be connected to. That's the strongest thing we can hold on to. And then the second thing is, how many of you ever get to a rope swing, and this is what you do? You're like, oh, rope swing. All right, you checked it out because, you know, you could lose some weight. And then you're like, okay, boom. And you just sit there. No one does that. That's like gym class. Like, climb. Just here. You know, do they even have ropes in gyms anymore? No. Sad times, right? So anyway, no one gets on a rope swing and sits there. All right, especially if it's a rope swing, like not like a tire swing where you can just like chillax. I mean, you got some effort. You're holding on to this thing. No, what do? You get on and you're like, oh, this is good. This is good. And if it's near a lake, yeah, you go into the lake. If it's not, you hope not to fall off, right? And you're like, yeah, this is the greatest thing ever. And then it stops. And you're like, man, here we go again. You go side to side. You start swinging. You start moving. Whenever we have a vertical relationship going on, whenever we love God, whenever we're building this relationship, there's no way that we stay still in it. You can't have an active relationship with God and not be reaching out to the world and the people around you. Now, what am I saying? I'm not saying that, okay, so that means if I have an active relationship with God, that I am going over to Russia, to Europe, to Africa. I'm going somewhere. That may mean, for some of you, that may mean it. That may be what God's talking to you, getting you to move. But for all of us right now, it's okay. Who's around you? Who's the ones immediate to you? Right now, I want you to close your eyes for a couple of seconds here. I want you to think. Some of you are distressing people. I just want you to know. It's just like eyes closed and then one open for about 8 people. Okay, eyes are closed. I want you to think about your daily process. Your daily routine. From, let's say, tomorrow morning, from 7 o'clock to 7 o'clock, a.m. to p.m. How many people do you think you'll see? That's rhetorical. Just think about it. How many people are you going to be interacting with? And I'm not talking about like you're riding on the bus to school and you see people out your window. I'm talking about people in your class, people that are at your job, people who are a part of your band, a part of football, a part of... These are the people that God is asking you to reach out to. You can open your eyes. Those are the people. Now, it may not be every single person in that group. You know? Noah's probably not supposed to reach out to every single football player in the sense of actively pursuing to share God's love with every single one. But there's more than likely 4 or 5 people that just popped up in your head that you see every day that you know could use some more encouragement. That you know could use the love of God. That you know could use someone sitting with them at lunch, someone giving them attention, someone just to listen to them talk. That's a part of our active relationship. If you want to live right, if you want to live the proper life, we have to not only be building this relationship between us and God, which we know how to do, reading your Bible, prayer, worship, the things that we're doing right now, but we also have to reach out. So my challenge for you is this. is I want you to have both parts of that rope swing down. Okay? First off, we have many a challenge about praying and things like that. Keep doing it. I want you to spend some time with God every day. And the second thing is I want you to talk to one person intentionally in the hopes of sharing the love of God with them. Now, what does that mean? That does not mean necessarily, it does not mean that I want you that you pick one person and you're like, you walk up to him and you're like, hey, John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he did great stuff.
Yeah.
Have a great day. Now, that's not necessarily what we're talking about. Some of you are like, I think I know that verse. It may mean that I come up and I'm like, hey, Sydney, how are you doing today? Maybe I don't normally talk to Sydney. You doing well? Times are rough? Sorry to hear that. You know what? I'm going to be praying for you. That may seem, some of you may be terrified to say something like that to somebody. But God puts people in our path to share His love with them. Not to beat them over the head and be like, Cindy, you should trust God more. But for me to share love, for me to show God's love to them, to interact. Love your neighbor as yourself. One person a day. That's my challenge for you. Just one. You can do two if you want. Overachiever, that's fine. At least one a day to where you are showing the love of God. You are being, you are loving your neighbor as yourself. Will you guys pray with me? God, I thank you for this day, and I thank you for every awesome person in here. I pray, God, that you give them all strength. One, just to have strength to make it tomorrow with such a tiring weekend. But two, God, I pray that you give all the strength to share your love with someone else. God, I pray that you help us to have that vertical and that horizontal relationship. God, I pray that you help us to live in the proper way. You created each person in here, and you created us with gifts and abilities, but ultimately, God, you want us to love you with everything. And you want us to share it with the world. God, I pray that you help us to do that. In your name, Lord Jesus, I pray. Amen.